What's up, guys? Bones here, and at Slasher Radio, October isn't quite over yet. We're joined by director and writer Mike P. Nelson, and we get into all of his biggest projects and everything you didn't know about them. From the return of Jason Voorhees and his recent Sweet Revenge collab with Jason Universe, the design of Jason that we've seen in Sweet Revenge, a possible feature-length film to finish his Jason Voorhees story, and of course we get into his highly anticipated Silent Night, Deadly Night film coming out December 12th of this year. And Mike gives us a preview of this reboot of the iconic holiday slasher and what we can expect from it. So slash those like and subscribe buttons, get in the comments and let us know what you think of Sweet Revenge, the new Jason Voorhees, and the upcoming Silent Night, Deadly Night reboot. And don't forget you can listen to the full episode of this on the Slasher Radio podcast, where we talk everything horror, specifically movies, every single week on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. You can get to this RSS feed in our link tree, which is in the description of this video. Now let's get to Mike. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Hey, Mike, how are you doing?
Good. We are twinning in here. What's going on, man? This is my co-host, Rob and Cass.
What's going on?
Hello. How's it going, guys?
Good. Thank you so much for hopping on with us, dude. We've been looking forward to it. We appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure.
What's going on with the hat there?
Oh, this is my rat fink hat.
Oh, cool. All right.
With my Creature from the Black Lagoon pin.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, actually, my wife and I, when we got married, we had a Creature from the Black Lagoon themed cake.
What? Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Set up, and so we had somebody like do a it was like a cake topper, and I was the creature holding who looked to be my wife, a cross between my wife and Julie Adams. But it was really cool. Actually, the guy who designed the cake topper was an animator on the California Raisins. So that was
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I am currently looking for your wedding cake on the internet to see if I can find you. That sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun day. Very memorable.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can do our intro and all that crap later on. We don't got to take up your time with that. And we can hop right into you if that's good.
Dude, let's go, man. Let's kick it off.
All right. You set me up perfect here, because my first question I wanted to ask you is, because you're a huge horror fan, right? And you just you had a Creature from the Black Lagoon fucking wedding cake. Like, that is some of the most badass shit ever. That's goals right there. So what keeps you going back to the horror genre? Because obviously, you started off and your career is, you're on an escalator, right? Like, you're doing all these really cool, really big projects, but you stick in the horror genre. What keeps bringing you back to that?
So much of it is the ability to tell all sorts of stories with the fun of the extreme external, we'll call it. You can have such a great, internal emotional story, or, just, again, I think horror is so universal in many ways. I think you can have that story that, is like it can be very human about, it could be as typical in horror as something like loss, or it can be finding a relationship again with your dad and how terrifying that can be. And then what do you mix in the pot to give it that douse of horror, of terror, of blood, of violence, whatever it may be that can scare or shock, or it's a perfect example is when I first did when my first feature was The Domestics, and I wanted to do a story about a married couple that were on the rocks that came back together again. And what a better place to do it than after the world has ended and they survive a whole bunch of bloodthirsty gangs and they make it to her parents' house in Milwaukee. They find each other again, right. But then surrounding all that, you get to, surrounding that, like the heart of that story, which is this push and pull, this beating of heads, this that to me is, that heart of the story. That's what needs to be there. But then what are all those obstacles? And let's just make them as crazy as we possibly can. And in this case, it involved 50 caliber machine guns and cars getting smashed and guys with deer heads on their faces. Like, it was just
Yeah, it can be anything, and it's great to be able to to kind of take advantage of everything that the world of horror encompasses. And I feel like you always do such a great job of that. But you brought up another good point where the storytelling, you direct and write so many of your projects, and that has to be, you don't see that often, and especially to the degree that you do it. Like, it's the majority of your stuff you write and direct, it seems. What is that undertaking like? Because you're in charge of so much, you have that creative in your hand to a large degree, but you also have so much more responsibility, and that's gotta be such a challenge. What is that process like of wearing both those hats?
I mean, you're right. It can be challenging. When you write your own stuff, at times you can be your own worst enemy,
Right.
because as you're writing it, you see it a very specific way. When I team up with a writer or have somebody write something, like, for instance, Wrong Turn was we'll say, 80% of that script was 80 to 90% was Alan McElroy, and I fell in love with the script. But then I came on to that, and I was like, but there's a few things that I want to tweak. So I went in there and I made some changes. But again, I went into it. There was a story. I read it, and I could go and take it on. And
You felt it.
yeah, exactly. Now with, like, for instance, something like The Domestics, or Silent Night, Deadly Night, or even my VHS 85 segment. It's like when you're writing those sequences, and you have such a like an idea of what it's supposed to look like. And not that you can't have that when you're reading somebody else's stuff that you're going to do, but when you're so immersed in it and you write it, and it just becomes so embedded in your brain and what it is, when you get there on the day that you're looking for locations or you're casting, and you're just like, oh dear Lord, this isn't exactly what I was picturing. And you sometimes have to get out of your own way and realize that there are lots of really, really interesting things to be explored yet in the process. And I think for me, as long as I can have that open mind, and I've been learning how to do it more and more with The Domestics, my first one, that was the hardest thing to do, because, like, I didn't want to budge with anything, and I learned over the course of the movie that I had to budge. There was no way around it, and it was painful, and you could tell that people were looking at you like, does this guy know what he wants? You know what I mean? And
But you know exactly what you want. That's the problem.
Yes, that's the problem. But it was great. It was, especially with that film, it was just one of those, like, you suddenly you get the, it's hard at first, and everybody's kind of looking at you like, what is this first time guy, what is he thinking? You know what I mean? And then over the course of time, once you start to realize, I have this whole world in front of me that it doesn't have to be that way. Like, look at this. Actually, the whole time I was looking this way, and now I turn and I look this way. And had I not turned to look this is what we end up shooting. You know what I mean? Because it's better. And that, to me, I think is a really important thing. And it's a thing, I think, that grounds me when I do write my own stuff, that I have to be open. You're not going to find that necessarily that perfect location. You could, but there's a chance that you won't. So you got to make something work. And having that open mind, I think it keeps the filmmaking process organic, which is one of my favorite things about filmmaking in general. Is just stuff happens. And as long as you're, like, ready for it and open to it, you can grab it and you can immortalize it. You know what I mean? Forever, even if it was on a whim. That, to me, is one of the most exciting things. So, and as I've been doing this more and more, even though I'm still a baby in this process, like, did my first feature in 2016. So I look, 10 it's approaching 10 years that I've been able to, make features and work in this business. And I'm blessed. I feel blessed for that, but still learning, still trying to focus, and still, like, utilizing that and learning from that kind of mindset.
Yeah, making those compromises. I obviously the three of us not ever making a film and not knowing shit about shit on that end. The stuff that the viewer doesn't see, those struggles behind the camera of locations and finding things like that, and having to make that compromise, Scott, especially when you have, like you said, that vision so deep rooted on the director's chair and the writer's pen.
Yeah.
The struggle that goes into making movies, us as viewers will never understand.
But you know, but to be fair, you don't have to understand it, and that's where that's where our job comes in. Where it's like I always have conversations with people on set, especially when it gets down to that nitty gritty of like making a sacrifice, or saying, you know, like, or having that conversation that you just said. God, I wish people would know that we went through this to get this, or we went through this, or we didn't actually get it. And you always get reminded by somebody on set saying, guess what? Nobody's going to care as long as it's good.
That's true. And it's unfortunate, but it's also very, very true.
You know, so you do have to, again, it's another reminder that you just have to, you know, nobody's going to care. Just try to make it as good as you possibly can. Tell that story the best you possibly can. Nobody is going to know. Nobody's going to care. Maybe there's like the 2% that are going to care about it and like really dig into like that we'll call it that BTS of what it was like. But for the most part, you just want to go in. You want to be entertained. You want to soak up a story, and you want it to be good.
Yeah, and throw people in your world. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of getting thrown into a world, I mean, you were thrown into a very interesting world with Sweet Revenge. This is the first time that we've seen Jason on a screen in so long, and you were the head of that. What was that like? I mean, what was that phone call like, getting that opportunity to be able to be at the helm of the return of Jason Voorhees?
First of all, yeah, it was kind of at first like, oh my God, this is actually really happening. I remember I was shooting I did a giant snake movie down in Colombia, and I was down there. It was on the we were in the middle of the shoot, and I got a call from one of my managers, and he goes, "Hey, they're looking to do like a Friday the 13th thing," and it was Ryan Turek and Judson Scott who had recommended they reach out to me, and I was like, okay. And I had met those guys a couple times, but that was kind of out of the blue, and I said, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna take the call, obviously. You know, met the Barsamians, met Sheri, Conn of Jason Universe, and had a discussion. They kind of took me through what kind of stuff that they were looking for, and that, you know, I think the thing that really grabbed me was, you know, well, there were two things. There was one thing that concerned me and one thing that really grabbed me. The concern was, oh dear Lord, this is a commercial. The thing that grabbed me was they didn't want to make a commercial, and I was like, interesting. Okay. They said the key thing was that we just need to bring Jason back with a vengeance, like, and really focus on like making Jason come back and make him like full blown brutal. Give us some good kills. Find a way to incorporate like an interesting new story take in there. Like, I was like, okay, so this isn't like Jason in the woods picking up an Angry Orchard, slamming it, and then like killing somebody with a bottle. And they're like, oh, for the love of God, no. Like, nobody wanted that. Not even, to be honest with you, not even Angry Orchard wanted that. Yeah, the call happened, and they said, think of an idea. And I knew in the back of my head, I was like, okay, so if they called me, there's probably 5 other people that they called, which I that's what ended up happening. I don't know everybody that was chatted up about it, but I knew I was one of the many. I came back a couple weeks later, pitched an idea that I said to myself, I'm going to do this. I want to do something, again, like I usually do, which is a little bit out of left field, but still wanted to kind of give that feel of like how it felt like when I first saw Friday the 13th, or I should say a snippet of Friday the 13th when I was like 10 years old and I wasn't supposed to, and bring that feeling back. pitched the idea of Eve, pitched the idea of, how I thought all this kind of stuff worked, and played with the lore without really answering too many questions, like none of the movies really do. And that was something that really, really attracted them to it. And yeah, then when I got the call saying, yeah, we want you to do it, it's kind of like, is this real life? Like, yeah, again, it was one of those kind of like, there was definitely a what do you call it when you you don't feel like you're the right person for the job, but you still really want it.
Imposter syndrome.
Oh my God, the imposter syndrome was hot that day. Because I mean, come on. I mean, first of all, you have a guy like Jason Blum who just flat out said it over the last week that like
several times, yeah.
I know he's always wanted it, but
Right.
now he just made it very clear Freddie and Jason are the white whales. I mean, you have these guys that do incredible short films online. You have these filmmakers that have gone after the property when it was in the Never Hike Alone films,
Vincente DeSante, a friend of the show, loved their stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh boy, here we get ready to either make some dreams come through or make a lot of enemies, because this is there's no turning back.
Imagine if you make this and you release it and then they're like, oh my God, this was so bad, we're never doing it again. No more Jason stuff, right?
Yeah, oh gosh, to be at the brunt of that would just be terrible thing.
You and I had the same fear about it, it sounds like, because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh Jesus, we're getting Jason back for the first time in 16 years, and it's in a commercial. This is going to be awful. It wasn't awful. It's actually quite enjoyable, and I really did like it. But that was a huge fear of mine that I had when I first heard about it.
Yes, that was a real thing, and I had to keep making it clear. And again, here was the thing that was good going into it was there were, at the beginning of the project, there were gatekeepers, and that was the Barsamians, that was Sheri, Conn, and they were very good about making sure that everything was going to be about Jason and the franchise. It didn't matter if we were going to do something fun and unique in the short. They just didn't want to make it just a straight up commercial. They knew that they were going to have to put like somebody drinking an Angry Orchard, whatever. Like all those movies have somebody's drinking something, in those movies, whether it be, Bud Light or whatever the hell it is. But still, it's, we went in and they were very clear that they wanted it to be about Jason. I was like, okay, I will also make sure that it is about that as well. And here we are. We made a short that, does have the beverage in a couple scenes, but really never focuses on it. And again, I think what was really cool, and the partner that we had with Angry Orchard, which it's hard to believe I'm saying this, they were amazing, because they also just wanted a cool short film that, they could sell and market Angry Orchard with Jason. That's also a dream come true for a company like that. It's a dream come true for me to make a Jason film, and then for Jason Universe to be able to relaunch the character again for the first time in so many years. It's a dream come true for them to finally do this. So it's kind of a win-win if you think about it. If you wanted to pull a Michael Scottism out of that, it's a win-win-win. So we did it, and I don't think that we were prepared for the response. Like, we got an overwhelmingly positive response from it. I mean, you can do the deep dive down the Reddits and cry yourself a river.
Yeah, those people always exist, though, right? I mean,
It's
no
true.
matter what. I mean, there are people on Reddit right now in a message board somewhere complaining about how Citizen Kane's a terrible film. You know what I mean? Like, they exist. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. But we ultimately, it was a pretty incredible experience to bring together like a crew that, like, 'cause we shot this in Wisconsin. I live in Minnesota. The lake that we shot on was the same lake that I filmed my VHS 85 segment. So there was like a fun history there. So that was a cool thing. We got to take over like 3 cabins which was awesome. So it was like we had our own little backlot, and yeah, it was an incredible experience. I got to work with my DP Nick Junkersfeld again. He shoots everything that I do. So to team up with him was great. Got to work with Schuyler White, who was our Jason, but was also our stunt coordinator, who was a stunt guy, and our pyro tech on Wrong Turn, and was our stunt coordinator on VHS 85. So it was like brought back the family. Got Brianna Johnson, our line producer, who was our producer on VHS 85, and our one of our producers on Wrong Turn. It was like bringing the gang back together again, and this time we get to do a Jason film. Got to bring in Chad Villella from Radio Silence, who him and I hit it off, and him, being a guy who has, who locked in on the Scream franchise in a very strong way, came in and was really great to work with because he had so much great experience working with a franchise, and kind of knew how to handle those ropes. And yeah, dude, it was incredible. There were definitely challenging moments, don't get me wrong. We shot this thing in like 7 days. It was very, very hard work. It was a lot of nights. There wasn't a ton of money, as much money as you'd think there would be with a giant IP like Jason. There just really wasn't. But that's where we got to be a little bit scrappy and go back to our old school like indie film roots. And that's where you make things happen. That's where, when you are grinding up somebody's head with a boat motor, you fill it full of the strawberry shortcake that was at Crafty that day, and that's what you get.
And that's where the Friday the 13th franchise itself, that's its roots. That people
100%.
forget. Like,
Yep.
you see it in what it is now, and it's this huge property, Jason Voorhees. But that's where it came from.
Yes.
It's kind of cool that you guys honed in on that, and it felt like it watching it, and that was great.
And that was a huge part of my pitch was, I had to, like, we tried to take so many cues from like how they lit, the movies 1 through 7. Really took cues from 4 and 7, honestly. With 7, sort of that low lighting kind of coming up on Jason. Obviously we have Easter eggs through part 1 and part 7, and with costumes and things like that, and then of course the kill that nobody ever got to see, unfortunately, from part 7 with the big weed whacker thing. It was sort of my attempt to do it, but with a boat motor, and I was like, I'm just going to show everything. And what was cool was Angry Orchard was great with that. They were like, yeah, dude, make it nasty, and we did it.
Well, I think it worked out well for Angry Orchard. I know all 3 of us bought the Thriller pack when it came out, right?
Oh, dude, so did I, man.
It's
so good.
Hunted them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who did the music for Sweet Revenge?
Well, I have something lined up for that, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, because I did have that lined up too, Rob. Because we did a little reaction thing, like 1 million people did, right, when Sweet Revenge came out.
Yeah.
And when we were watching it, we were like, did Manfredini do this? It was that close to that vibe. Was this Rob Lowry?
Okay, so Rob Lowry was our music supervisor, and he helped us get the opening track by Gateway Drugs, and the I've Changed My Sugar and Sweet at the end. So he was our guy that and he also did a lot of homework with us about, kind of where we could bring the music. He did, at one time we were chasing some tracks from Manfredini to sort of slip in throughout the movie. It was going to cost way too much. It was nothing that we could afford. The rights, are all, tied up in conglomerates. And so what I did was I enlisted the help of Matt Compton and Michelangelo Rodriguez, who are the guys that Brianna Johnson had brought to the table and said, these guys are great. Like, I think you should listen to their stuff. Matt did the music in what was that, Last Stop in Yuma County? That just came out. That was like that kind of crime thriller. Everybody's at a diner.
I heard that was very good. I didn't see it, but I heard the movie was very good.
In any case, those guys came in, and us 3 put our heads together, and we kept pushing and creating, And look, there was plenty of times where it was just like it was frustrating because we weren't getting the right vibe. We were like, no, but what if we do this more? Okay, no, well, I guess that's not working. Like, it was definitely one of the most challenging parts of the film because like you have to get that vibe right.
Yep.
And I do have to hand it those guys because we just kept doing it until finally it was like this one day it just clicked and suddenly like they were throwing stuff back and forth at me. I was just like, this is it. Like we'd gone through so many different things and tried like going completely the opposite of Manfredini and then almost copying him exactly, which we wouldn't have been able to use. And
Right.
it was like, and then finally we found this like, this feels very much its own, but feels in the spirit of what those movies felt like and sounded like. And I just, yeah, I screamed. Like it was so exciting.
Yeah, you guys nailed it because as Mikey said, when we were watching it, we were like, "Is this Manfredini? Is it? Like, did he do the music for?" Like, it's very much that vibe. You guys did an excellent job with the music. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a lot.
And it was a big turning point of the short too, because that's, when we went into this personally, and at Friday the 13th fans alike probably around the world, you kind of want that Jason Friday the 13th, you want that back, he's back, we want that back.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
once Jason comes out of the water and shit start, spoiler alert people, but once that happens and shit starts kicking up, that's when that music hits and we're like, oh, okay, we're here now.
Yes.
And you're right, it felt like an updated Friday that they're like, we couldn't tell if Manfredini did it or not. That's how much you nailed that vibe. But yeah, it was still like new and updated and sound 2025-ish.
Yep.
I think those are the aspects that we wanted, from this. And I love that you guys were able to hone in on that and really get your finger on the pulse of what fans needed. And I'm sure that helped being a fan yourself.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, look, you, especially when we were putting the film together, we were editing it and putting it together, and obviously you put a bunch of temp music in, and I temped the whole thing with Manfredini and then a couple other little other cues from some other films, like as kind of like transitional elements. And I was just like, oh my God, how are we gonna make this thing like it needs Manfredini to work?
Yeah.
And that, again, that was the huge challenge. And again, hearing from you guys that it feels like we nailed it makes me feel like all that extra work and all those extra hours and those late nights that those guys put into it paid off. Because I was ecstatic when we finally hit it. I was like, oh my God, this actually works. This is great. Matt, yes.
Yeah, kudos to that whole set, because we were trying to figure it out. We're like, all right, who the hell did this? Because this is great.
Yes, yeah, those guys really nailed it.
Yeah, they did great work. You're not afraid, obviously, to take on existing beloved properties. You did The Wrong Turn. What do we call that? A remake, reboot? How do you refer to that?
Yeah, it basically was like a whole starting over. So we'll call it a reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You took an interesting path with that, and going in, you had to know that was risky, right?
Oh, dude, yeah. The nice thing about that though was that everybody that was on board to do it, like, because the originals were all headed up by, well, it was Constantine Film, who started off the Wrong Turn series, and and those are the guys they've done the Resident Evil movies, and they were looking to refresh it, and they brought back Alan, the original writer, and they wanted to do something very different. They didn't want to do cannibals again. So from the get-go, it was like we wanted to do something different, and I was excited by that, and I loved sort of like this different approach that Alan had given to it. And I was like, and God, like, it's the guy who wrote the original. I'm like, he's, if anybody knows this and knows what it should feel like, it's him. And so, yeah, I can't tell you how many calls we had between like all of us where we were just like, we know we are going to make some people upset, but that's okay, because we are trying to do something new and different. And we're not just going to, what's the point of being stagnant and doing the same thing over and over again? And that's the thing that I always remind myself when I do take on an existing IP, is I'm just like, I never want to do a rehash. You'll never get that from me. So if that's what somebody's looking for, I'm usually out. If somebody wants something new, let's talk about it. So yeah, it was nice being from the ground up, knowing that that was it. So there was never any deviation. So it was always like we were just full bore. This is what we're doing. And obviously when that movie first came out, it was mixed with the fans for sure. And we knew that that was going to happen, although it was hard to take in the moment. I feel like after all these years, it has finally found an audience that I don't actually think saw the movie when it first came out, and now is finding a little bit more love than it did when it first came out.
Yeah. Is it? Well, I guess first of all, do you watch or do you look at like reviews and stuff for your films?
I occasionally. I am pretty good about not doing the deep dive. It's hard not to see your Rotten Tomatoes score in the world these days because it's everywhere. But I don't usually do too much hunting. Sometimes I'll sneak a peek just to see how things are going. But and honestly, like I'm usually better. I'm okay with reading reviews from, we'll call them, not to sound like uppity, but like actual reviewers who like review with tastefully,
with right intent,
right,
and the right lens. You're 100% right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like it's you can go down a deep dive, as you know we briefly discussed, and hear all the hate for something that you do, and it can be very hurtful and devastating. And I've tried to get out of that mindset, and I've definitely gotten better at it, and I'm less focused on that now. But yeah, it's something that, again, like you think before the internet, and you saw how your film did, and maybe you read some reviews, like in the newspaper, or watched Siskel and Ebert or something like that. That's kind of how you knew, or you heard people talking about your film on the street, or at the restaurant, or at the bar. That's kind of how you got the sense of how it was working.
Yeah.
Everybody's got an opinion, and I think that's both good and at times can be really toxic. So I think it's really just about, I've just really tried to shape my attitude in the right way towards it, and just be like, you know what? Look what I got to do. I got to tell a story that I cared about, and that's really what it comes down to, is like being able to go through that journey, tell that story, put something that you loved, put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears out into the world that a handful of people enjoy. And it's interesting, because one thing that I've started to notice, it's very obvious, but it's also something that, like, man, hatred is so much louder than good good things. You know what I mean? It's a very strange thing to have. But I don't know, man. I keep doing my thing, and as long as I'm happy doing it, and I'm doing it in the way that I like to do it, like that, I've found so much joy in it now. So
yeah. I hear from some filmmakers that, they'll say they don't read the reviews specifically for that reason. And it's something I've wondered about myself. Like, if I were to make a movie and take all that time and energy and effort and passion and love and put it into this thing and put it out there, do I really want to know what people think of it? You know what I mean? Because if people don't like it, even if everyone liked it and one guy didn't, I would take that so personally. It would drive me nuts.
I know.
So I get it when filmmakers say they don't. I'm always curious about that. Just like, do you watch your movies when they're finished? Because I hear some filmmakers are like, they can't do it. All they see are the mistakes.
You know what? I actually really like watching the movies with an audience. I will go to the theater with some friends, and hopefully, like, it's more than just us. And
that's not uncommon for me to be in an empty theater these days, though. Unfortunately,
it's true.
Sad.
It's true, yeah. But like, we try to go like either opening or close to opening night, if it does play theatrically, or if like premieres at like a Fantastic Fest or somewhere, and at least get that experience, because I love to kind of see how people, are people reacting to certain things, and that to me is a real interesting learning experience, almost more so than reviews, because I think reviews. It gives there's a period of time that I feel like a reviewer or somebody that's seen it sometimes has before they gush or spew on it. listening and being a part of a reaction of a in the moment, like the electricity, is in itself, I think, a really good thing to be a part of, and it's a good learning experience to know, like, in that very moment what's kind of hitting and what's not,
Yeah.
and when like people are really silent, when the room just goes silent, and you're just like, oh my God, this is perfect. Or like that heckler that laughs at the thing that they shouldn't have. You're like, damn it, I shouldn't
I
have.
hate
That
you.
was, yeah, and you're just like he was the devil on my shoulder earlier, telling me cut that because somebody's gonna laugh at it. And sure enough, I should have listened. To me, that's an incredible learning experience, is to see your movie with an audience, even if it's a friends and family screening, just to kind of get that initial, those initial first like feelings, and how people react, or any gasps, or is anybody looking down? Did anybody pull their phone out? Like, that's great information, especially if you're still working on the film and you can go back and massage things.
Anybody who pulls their phone out in the theater should be hit.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I know they try to dim it to make it, they think nobody can see, but we can see you. We know where you are.
Exactly.
It annoys me.
Well, Mike, you mentioned the Fantastic Fest, and I need to talk to you about Silent Night, Deadly Night, but I want to hit on one more thing, that because you mentioned something interesting, and I love your energy towards it, in taking the criticism but trusting your process and trusting your vision. And I feel like that I love seeing that from creators such as yourself. Obviously Schuyler's Jason caught a lot of backlash from a lot of people and a lot of mixed reviews, a lot of love, a lot of hate, a lot of in between.
Yes.
Which normal in the horror genre, right? But you guys trusted your process, and I just wanted to know what the thought process was behind, because like we talked about earlier, recreating an iconic character. How much of this was you, Jason Universe, and like what went into the thought of redesigning this iconic character and trusting that process to put it out there?
Yeah, I mean, let's dig into it. I mean, first and foremost, getting into it, like, we were, the first thing we had was a new Jason design that was given to us.
Right.
And so that was something that Jason Universe had worked on with Greg Nicotero, who I still haven't met yet. Like, literally, I've like, Shifts and I have passed him at least, I feel like, 3 or 4 times this year, and never actually bumped into him or met him or anything.
We just had him on a couple weeks ago. Damn, we should have scheduled like a two-parter with you guys. That would have been awesome. Damn.
Yeah. So anyway, we're given the new Jason design, which was mask and get up and all this stuff, and we're kind of given that first initial drawing. And one of the things that we all discussed that the drawing was based off was like, this doesn't look like the hulking. This isn't the big hulking Jason anymore. And to me, that was interesting. Like, I honestly kind of liked going like the kind of Nick Castle direction, which just it makes him a little bit more man and less mutant. And I thought that was an interesting direction. And to me, then you bring in Schuyler, who's 6'5", and I was like, well, that's pretty fucking tall. So we had a tall Jason. He's big, but he's not too big. You know what I mean? He's not roided out. And to me, there was something that wasn't. It took him out of the Jason superhero mode, and I thought that was an interesting idea. Honestly, like, that was one of the things that Jason Universe and I, like, we were all like, yeah, I think that's a cool move. So that's where we went. Schuyler, working with him, knowing full well what he was capable of, him being characters in movies prior. And then, of course, being the character, and then working with the actors and our stunt performers, who were also actors, a handful of them were, and being able to just, like, get in there and just fucking toss them around. Yeah. Like, I mean, it was kind of a match made in heaven. We were kind of able to do whatever and get really nasty with it, and that was fun. It was a really fun collaboration, and I would say that there were things that that were differentiating opinions at times between me and Jason Universe, but the thing is we were able to usually work those out. And look, I think we made something pretty freaking cool, and I'm, you know, and I know that they were very happy with it, and yeah, dude, it was. Now you're making me like think back to the that week that we shot the film. I'm just like, fuck, God, I can't believe we fucking did that. Like we killed somebody with a boat motor.
And then that's the thing, like people get like I didn't understand, like people got stuck on certain things way too freaking much because, dude, like all the things that he did, that was, if you put that, you know, Sweet Revenge Jason up against any of them, pick any of them, he's up there in brutality, man. Like in that little period of time that we had with him in your short, he got shit done, you know, like not fucking around whatsoever. And yeah, you guys made something fucking awesome. No argument. Like no one can argue.
Yeah. Well, and I mean too, I think it's also a testament that like at times I think there is horror that, look, I mean, how much love over the last couple years has there started to be for the Marcus Nispel Friday the 13th? Remember when that movie came out, how it was crucified?
Yeah.
Like it was like people were like, "That's not my Jason. How dare you? This is terror." Like I remember just being like, "Calm down, everybody." You know what I mean? Like I can't say I was the biggest fan either, but I was also like, it's not that bad. I mean, what is happening here? Like there's I think such a, and this isn't necessarily in reaction to maybe some of the backlash towards ours, but I do feel like, I mean, this also happened with Texas Chainsaw, the remake, which now is hailed as a classic. You know, the 2003, like it's crazy how there are some films that go through this sort of thing where it does sometimes take something new to remind an audience that there's another thing. Maybe that wasn't that bad, and then there's that revisit of, actually, this is pretty cool. Dude, I go through it all. I've done it before too. I'm just, you know, I want to give this another shot. You know what? That's actually not that bad. It's pretty fucking cool, actually.
You gotta let things marinate sometimes in the horror world. It happens.
You do, and you know, like, you know, like I said, and I felt a little bit with Wrong Turn. Like when that movie first came out, it was hard not to hear the hate. And then suddenly you start seeing articles pop up, and that movie came out in 2021. It's almost 2026, and there's people that are seeing it for the first time, and you're just like, oh, like people are discovering this movie now, and where was this movie? Like, how come I've never heard of this? I love this. And you're just like, okay, like it just took some time, and that's okay.
Yeah, sometimes that is all it takes. I mean, we know a girl whose favorite horror movie of all time is the Friday the 13th remake.
Shout out to Sam and Our Life in Horror. Yeah, that's a running joke / argument we have.
I mean, look, I'm kind of an old man, so I'm always like, that's not my Jason. But so I give her a hard time about it and stuff. But those people exist, and I don't, I give her a hard time about it. I don't really. It's fine. I can still go back and watch the old ones. It's fine. They still exist. Yeah. They didn't delete them from existence or whatever.
No, exactly. And I think, actually, it was really interesting talking with I was at Comic-Con this past weekend, and I was talking with Attack Peter over at Mondo. And, he's very big into like doing all the Godzilla stuff with Toho, and we talked about the different variations of Jason, because he did the poster for Sweet Revenge and moderated our panel out in on San Diego, and so it was sort of a dream come true for him to jump on and be a part of the Jason IP. And he was talking about how many iterations of Godzilla there are out there, and I've watched several Godzillas. I am nowhere near at the level of fandom that he is. And oh my god, the thing, he goes, fans, it's almost a part of the fandom to like, you just know that there's like all these different Godzillas, and one person is gonna love that one, and then there's another person that's gonna hate that one and love this one, and that person's gonna hate that one. He goes like, dude, no, look at the suit was terrible, dude. He's like, no, but that's why the suit is great. You know what I mean? Look at how many people love Jason from Part 5 with the blue chevrons.
Yeah.
Like there is a strong cult following for that Jason, and but the majority of people will say that's not even Jason. That Jason doesn't count.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the horror genre, man. There's nothing like it.
It is, and the fandom. I mean, at times, like, look, I think there's. I will say, yes, there are some bad apples, but God, I will say, for the most part, horror fans are the best fans.
Yes.
They are the most, they're the realest, sweetest, and most like, they just,
They love.
they love, they live and breathe it.
Yep.
And their appreciation, even most of the time, even when it doesn't really hit for them, a lot of times even their appreciation goes above and beyond just for it existing. But again, it also comes down to, it's also this, like, this outlet, this thing to talk about, this world that we as lovers of horror understand, that we can kind of be in on. You know what I mean? It's ours. And that in itself is very exciting.
Even the hate, you have fun with it in the horror. You know what I mean? And when it's healthy and when it's done right, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the debates about, like you said, with Godzilla and you know, which versions you like better or whatever. I mean, that stuff it's just fun to engage in that. And but yeah, it's all, I mean, horror fans, you see how great they are. Like for me, it's been best exhibited at just the couple of horror conventions that I've gone to. Right, everybody's always so nice, and I always get along, and you strike up conversations with strangers about this weird shit that we're all into that nobody else understands.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
And I mean, again, like at those cons and certain festivals and stuff like that, like those are the people where you can legitimately get into a heated, friendly debate about which one is better, you know, whatever it may be. And you can literally sit down and have a beer with that person, and you'll see them again in another one, and you want to strike up a conversation again because that energy is so good, it's so pure, you know, it's awesome.
Just start yelling at each other all over again, but it's all love and it's all fun, and we all love this horror genre.
I know, it's great.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to touch on with you, Mike, about the Sweet Revenge, and is I feel like most important, because I've seen you mention this before and you've been asked, but has there been any talks or more so in your interest of wanting, because you only had obviously a short period of time to tell this story, and there's a lot of meat left on that bone.
Oh yeah.
Would you want a feature length Friday the 13th, Jason Universe, whatever it's called now, to finish your story and tell your story? Is this something you've tried to make happen?
You know, honestly, I would love to see through what happens with Jason and Eve. Absolutely. Like, I would love to do that. That would be so exciting. I mean, look, from my standpoint, like, I personally think I like the idea of how those original movies were handled, which was new director comes in, does his take, next one, new director comes in, does it, you know what I mean? Like, that to me is what made those movies so unique, is there was, like, you know, they kind of they did connect, but they kind of didn't connect, and one has a completely different lore than the last one, but it doesn't really matter, and but that actually stirs up conversations about maybe it is connecting. To me, that is one of the special things of Friday the 13th, is each movie very much is its own, while also somehow in a weird way connects. And to me, I think that's the way, in my opinion, how to dive back into this again, is to do it like that, and to get different directors and writers' POVs on Jason and let that ride. I can't, that would be one of the most exciting things for me to see that, because then it's like you're not just, I get there's a purity in having one sort of voice take it on and continue on a trilogy or this, you know what I mean? But I also feel like that's what made Jason different from, you know, kind of what's going on now with like for instance, like the new Halloween trilogy, which was sort of, you know, followed through with David Gordon Green as his sort of take on the story. I think, you know, Jason kind of met the or had this great trend that started this, like, every director is going to do it his own thing, and the lore is somehow going to be different. I guess Nightmare on Elm Street sort of did that a little bit too. Every movie had its own director. That to me is the way to go, man. And then
that's
it's
the
like,
way it's been.
And then how does that next director pick up the pieces and tell their version? I think there's something wild and crazy, especially in nowadays, to go about and do it that way.
Yeah. It's like an anthology in its own weird
Yes.
way. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
I agree 100%.
Yes.
I love that thought process. And yeah, I need to know what the hell happened with the Eva like that. You left so many questions, obviously intentional. But yeah, there's so much meat on the bone there, dude. And you started something great that I really, really want to see the end of so badly.
And what's interesting is I know exactly what happens.
Damn you.
I know. And
you.
literally it's like, so I've been asked this several times, and every single time I literally want to sit down and just do a whole movie pitch. Like, because I know it and I love it and I just want it. I know exactly how, and there's certain scenes where I'm just like, in this scene, and just, sorry, we just without.
Well, we got time.
It's there. It's
trying
there.
to get him in trouble. Look at you.
I'm just saying,
But that's the beauty of what you did, though. Like, it does have those questions, and it does have, like, there was so much there to grow desire, and that's exactly what you need to do in that situation. Absolutely.
I mean, again, so much of that is a testament to the first movie, which left so many questions unanswered.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, Alice in a canoe gets taken by,
right.
Jason, is he, who, what was that? Is that like, and then she goes, well, then it means he's still out there. Who? Jason from 1950s? Is that an older Jason? Like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Yeah.
like, and that's never, ever been answered.
No, he shows up in the second movie. It says 5 years later, and he's the full-grown ass man.
Like, and this movie, and when Pam Voorhees is offing people, that's what Jason drowns in 1957 or whatever it was, or was that it? Like that's when he drowned, right? Or no?
Yeah. That's, I believe so. Yeah.
He drowned back in the 50s, and then so why is he a young kid still coming out? Like, and that's again where I'm just like,
was it a dream? Yeah.
Was it a dream? Has Jason always been undead? You know what I mean? To me, you can do the deep dives online, and you can read the essays that people have their points of view. It's very fascinating, and that's again where jumping into this IP, I'm like, people have thoughts.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That means there's so many different possibilities in this franchise.
You can play with all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it gets to happen, dude. I'm cheering that on for 1,000,000%.
It would be a blast.
Something that is definitely going to happen is Silent Night, Deadly Night. The release date, I believe, is October 12th of this year. Obviously, we're not going to get into it.
December.
I got October on my mind, man.
No, dude. We all do. Don't worry about it.
December 12th of this year. Christmas movie, obviously coming out in December. We're not going to get into a tremendous amount about it because it's not out yet and everyone needs to go see it for themselves. But there's so much to talk about yet and still, though, because you're, again, picking up on such an iconic property and film and all this. Actually, a mutual friend of ours, Damian Maffei, we talked about Wrong Turn. You worked with him on Wrong Turn.
Oh, I love me Damian.
Let's not get carried away. He's a pain in the ass. We just talked to him recently. We love Damian too. But he was telling me when I mentioned to him that we were going to be talking to you, and I know that you and him work together. And he claims that he was the first person that said you should be the guy to bring back Silent Night, Deadly Night. Is this true, Mike?
We did have that conversation. And actually, I think it was. I can't remember exactly how it came about. I know that at one point during Wrong Turn, and the actual conversation that we had might have been later, but I think it all stemmed from I was wearing a black Christmas shirt on the set of Wrong Turn, and it had Billy's eye poking out from the door, and then it had all the Agnes, it's me, Billy, and all the what did you do to the baby, all this stuff on the back. And he was just like, I just want to come over and say, I love your shirt. I don't mean to be a nerd and come over here and it was it was the sweetest thing in the world. And I was like, oh yeah, dude. Because I was for some reason, I was really focused that day, and something didn't go right, and I was trying to figure it out. And he came up to me, and he for some reason thought that he'd burst my concentration or something. And he actually probably got me out of my funk, because I was like, oh, somebody else wants to talk about something cool. Somebody noticed I was wearing this black Christmas shirt, and he was the only one. And then, so then that's right, because what's interesting was we had that conversation about Black Christmas. Then it was Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I can't remember if it was then or if it was sometime later, but it was ballpark. And then I also remember when I had gotten the gig or was in the process of getting the gig. Like I had pitched for it, it was looking really good, and it looked like I was going to get it. And he was, I think, the first person that I had texted, and I just texted him a GIF of, I just texted him a GIF of this of Santa's hand coming out of the chimney with the axe, with like snow blowing, and he was like, I can't remember if he said like, "Are you serious?" And he goes, "I think it's happening."
That's so awesome. Yeah, he did mention your Black Christmas shirt too. He said, what I forget exactly. He said that your T-shirt game was distractingly incredible, which context was very valuable in that moment too. By the way,
Yes, that was definitely a topic of discussion. Was what T-shirt was Mike gonna wear? I still do that on sets. That is still a thing, and my T-shirt collection is still absolutely. I have problems.
Oh, fright rags hurt your pocket too,
dude. And you, dude, I'm doing fright rags. I'm doing fucking deep dives too of just like people making shirts. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's a crazy design. I'm gonna wear that. People that ask, where'd you get that? I don't know, some guy online.
But yeah, that's freaking awesome. But how do you, again, we kind of just had this conversation with Sweet Revenge, but what's your thought process going in? Silent Night, Deadly Night is that's a big one. And what's it like taking on something like this and giving us a new look so long after too?
It is sort of like, it's like Wrong Turn, it's like Sweet Revenge.
Right.
It's like you have to go in, you got to try. I mean, honestly, like that's what it comes down to. Never did I think I would do a Wrong Turn. Never did I think I would do a Jason film, to be completely honest with you. Like it never did I think I'd do a Silent Night. Like that wasn't necessarily on my or in my bowl. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that like I was planning on doing. But when presented with the idea, which again, like all these things, it was, Mike, here's a script called Wrong Turn from the original writer. Check it out. Hey, Mike, they're interested in doing a Jason short film. You interested? Yeah, let's talk to him. Hey, Mike, this is Brad Miska, formerly of Bloody Disgusting, who was at Cineverse at the time, who was like, Mike, and I just worked with him on VHS 85, had a great time with him, and he goes, Mike, we have Silent Night, Deadly Night. Do you have a take? And I was like, oh my God, like I want to do a Christmas horror film. Give me a couple weeks. Couple weeks go by, came up with an idea. I was just like, that sounds like fun. Like literally, like it was like, again, just going after something. Like I think there are things that lived in that take that I presented them, and some things that died. But overall, that was the idea.
Right.
Presented it to them. They went away. They thought about it. They came back and they said, we like it. Do you want to write up an outline? And I said, sure. And then they're like, okay, write the script. We're doing it. Nice. And it's just, and again, I think so much of that just comes down to, I took it at face value, thought of something that I would want to see. Like I said, this week in New York, somebody asked me, a very similar question. It's like, first and foremost, when I take on something like this, it has to matter to me. And I'm not going to give you a rehash. So I'm going to give you a story that matters to me, and that's the most important thing. And I think any filmmaker that would either take on an IP or just do something original would say the same thing. It has to matter to you. And then you try to make something that pulls people in and gets people excited and shows them something brand new.
Yeah, I am interested to see what a modern day Silent Night, Deadly Night looks like. I love those first, at least the first two films, or first one and a half, really, because the second one is just recycled footage for at least half of it. But largely, I think I love them because they're kind of bad and just goofy and fun, I think. So I don't know what a modern day take on that looks like, but I'm extremely interested in watching it.
Yeah, I'd say what's interesting about especially the first one is its tone. It's so bizarre.
Hmm.
Like it feels at times like it's like a Ryan Murphy doing doing like his weird like this is how a killer's made sort of thing. Like, nuns beating kids and just weird stuff like it's not, we'll call it the not fun stuff that sometimes horror has to dive into to get a full roundness of a character or situation.
Yeah.
And then there's just like some of the weird goofy murder stuff and some of the lines and some of the awkwardness and some of the cringy stuff, and you're just like, and you're laughing, you're like, I'm so torn right now. I don't get I
Right.
don't get how I'm
Those are
supposed to be
great
feeling.
moments. Yeah.
Exactly, but again, that's I honestly that's why that movie has such a cult status. That's why it's revisited so often, is because it is such a strange movie in terms of how it makes you feel. And look, we're not doing that with the new Silent Night. Like I'll be upfront and honest. Like it's we're not doing that. Though I will say the one cue that I'm taking is our movie is tonally very strange. Like
Okay.
it goes one way and then loves to go another way, and then goes one way and then loves to go another way. So if there was one thing that I did pull from the original, it's the fact that that movie did play with tone in strange ways, and I feel like we did something similar in terms of we were kind of here and there with tone, and it makes you feel really strange in some places. Like, what kind of movie am I watching here? And then, oh, yep, that's right. Yep, Yep, this is what's happening. And you probably weren't realizing that the scene that came before that, you really need that to understand what comes later. Oh, I see what's happening now. Okay, got you.
And that's got to be hard to do, to be so unpredictable and kind of erratic on film, but make it have continuity at the same time. Because I get the vibe you're talking about, and a lot of movies you see that do that, that's just what it is. It's all over the fucking place. It's going to be a wild ride, and there's really no connecting lines with that kind of tone, but the good ones are able to bring things together, and it sounds like that's what you tried to do here.
Well, and that's where characters come in. And that's where,
Right.
to me, the characters in this are the lifeblood. The plot is pretty simple. It's a guy dresses as Santa Claus, kills some people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when you see the movie, we get to explore what that means a little bit more, obviously. So yeah, I mean, I'll be the first one to say that, it's not, it's a character driven movie. It's less about, a lush plot and more about what happens when you put these two characters together. What sort of journey do they take? And that to me was the most interesting thing, and that was the story I wanted to tell.
Nice. And you kind of answered this already, but I think it's worth mentioning. The original Silent Night, Deadly Night, when it came out in 1984, caused so much controversy.
Yeah.
Parents were protesting it, theaters were pulling it, all these things. In 2025, that's a very difficult task to
Yes.
to kind of do now. It seems like you're pulling away from that, which is not a bad thing, and obviously, something that needs to be done. But it sounds like you're still trying to keep that tone there of uncomfort or something along those lines, if I'm reading you right.
Yeah, I mean, I think irreverence is the
Yeah.
the word I like to use. Yeah, like I'm not somebody that likes to get into like the ickiness of things so much, but
Yeah.
I do look, are there moments in here where I don't feel very comfortable right now? Sure. Do we pay those off with glorious murder? Abso-fucking-lutely. So like for me, like that's where again it was finding that weird tone, finding that irreverence in just some of the weird stuff that we were able to do in the movie. Um, you know, but also just there's some pretty straightforward, just good character drama and getting to know you kind of stuff that I feel like that's where the heart is, and that's where you can grab onto it and hang on. You know what I mean? To the point of it being like, wait, so I didn't think this was this movie, but it is. Okay, here we go. Uh, the characters are the ones there that are anchoring that, and that to me again is where for me, that's why the movie works, and it has something to grab onto. And it's like kind of what I said at Comic-Con. I think I said at one point, I was like, I was watching a lot of Pixar movies at the time that I was writing this. Yeah, I was influenced by Pixar, don't get me wrong, but I was also watching Frailty and Adam Winger's The Guest. So like those
combination.
like, that was literally how this baby was made, was watching those movies kind of all at the same time.
Interesting. I think that the best thing that could have happened to the original was it being protested and pulled from theaters.
Absolutely.
I mean, we talked about like why it has its cult status today, and I think that plays a large part in it. So, do we need to organize some evangelicals, get them out in front of theaters for you? Would that help?
Well, what's so funny is like, I mean, that was something that I think Ruby and Rowan were talking about. Was they were like, man, we should get people to come and protest the movie as like as a thing.
Right.
We should get people to come out with signs and just have 1984 again, just for the fun of it. And I was like, God, that sounds incredible. And like I would be right out there with him. Just give me a fucking sign, dude.
But at the same time, that was a moment that happened organically. Like you can't recreate that.
100%. No,
Ever.
no, not in the same vein. And I think it'd be very hard to do that again in the world that we live in now. Like I don't think anybody would ever protest this. There's too many Killer Santa Claus movies. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
There's too many Christmas horror movies in which many people would, yes, at face value say, yeah, that's sacrilegious, and that people are like, yeah, but whatever.
We just seen Art the Clown blow up children at a mall. Like it's kind of, what else do you do?
Correct.
When you go for that, it's always and it's a breath of fresh air to hear you say you're not going, because you can't. That's not something you go for. That's something that happens. And when you try for things like that, it's a reach. Audiences can tell. You're not comfortable doing it. It's a whole big thing. And I love that you're kind of just doing your thing and trusting your process, like we talked about.
You have to do it. And I'll go. You got to make something that matters to you.
Yes.
Right.
As the filmmaker, it's so important.
Right. Is that talking about though all the Christmas horror movies that we've seen since the 1984 film that's come out, and now we get how many of them every year? Was there a thought process of how do I make this one stand out?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think some of it is just what's in my brain, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on up there. And that I think so there's some hope of just like that people will be like, oh, this is fun and interesting and new and fresh, and I didn't know I needed this. And honestly, I think Christmas movies just in general are something that people want. Christmas horror movies, I think, are something that especially horror fans need. And I think it's something that tying all that together, look, I think, as I said before, you bring in that irreverence, you bring in that warm coziness, the things that you want in a Christmas movie, and then just spatter it in blood and give something to grab onto that, like, to me, if people can walk away feeling like I was not expecting that, I've won. I did my job, like, because that's the kind of story that I wanted to tell. I wanted to kind of go in and do something that kind of mattered to me, that was sort of off in a different direction, that's going to surprise people, and that at the core of it is also just there's enough to have a lot of fun with. I mean, Fantastic Fest was a perfect example. I wasn't able to be there, but from what I heard, there was a moment where everybody stood up and cheered, and I am so sad I had to miss that, because none of my movies have ever made anybody stand up and cheer before. So I'm hoping that continues to happen, and I'm hoping that people have a similar fun and visceral reaction to it.
Yeah, and you're kind of becoming, which has got to be wild as a horror fan, that you're becoming the guy who's trusted with these really big properties and iconic films, and that's got to be scary in a way. It's got to be fucking awesome, first and foremost, but also scary in a way. But you've risen to the occasion every single time, and I think the reason, like you said, you just keep getting these calls of, hey, you want to have your hand in this iconic thing. It's because you've proven what you can do, especially when put in these situations with these things. And I can't wait to see what you do with it, dude. Honestly, like I'm truly excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too. What is your favorite Christmas horror movie?
Oh boy.
Not directed by Bob Clark.
God.
I take that one off the table because that's everybody's favorite, or it should be anyway.
Because that would be the.
Yeah, I mean that's the masterpiece. That's the benchmark, right? Like that's the one everybody.
I know, God. And that, I mean, because it would be the one that I would go to. I mean, that's the one I watch every.
Yeah,
every
me
year.
too. Me too. Yeah.
It does all the things that I love in Christmas horror. It gives me the feels. It makes me feel cozy. It makes me feel very like when you're in that sorority house. Everything is like so warm and like the Christmas lights. Everything, it kind of has this bokeh and this bloom to it, and everybody's dressed in sweaters, and I just love it. And then you just have a creep up in the attic. Like that is just.
Yeah, and you got Margot Kidder playing drunk, just being crazy. It's wonderful. And that side story of the dad that's looking for his daughter who we know is already dead. Like, what movie does that? Like, yeah. Well, it's heartbreaking, but then it's also played for comedy at points, which is also an interesting choice that he made.
It's a weird, again, Christmas horror doing strange tonal things. Like it's, I would say that in the case of Black Christmas, they do it. Yes, there is some kind of goofiness to it, but they play it a lot more for like, I feel uncomfortable, and it's doing a really good job of that right now. And I love that. God, Christmas, God dang it. You're killing me here. And of course, on the spot, I'm always the worst of this. I can of course do the letterbox thing like on a dime with, best 4 movies like that. Influence. Yeah. Boom, I know them right off the top of my head. Shit, dude, I don't know.
It is a hard choice, and it changes, right? Like every time you watch something else, it does bounce around. Yes.
I mean, I guess maybe I would go Gremlins.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's a very solid pick. Gremlins is a great movie.
I think I would have to go Gremlins. Yes.
That's fair.
Let's go Gremlins. I do love that movie. It is one that I love to revisit. Around this time of year. I mean, obviously, Die Hard's not a horror movie, but it is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
But I would say, let's go Gremlins. Yeah.
Gremlins a great pick. Gremlins a great movie. A lot of great actors in that film.
Yeah.
Great idea, I think.
It's a great. And I'm actually I'm showing my son for the first time that movie this year. So.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I remember when my son was little. Yeah, I was very excited. We got to go see it. It was playing at a theater near us. To see it in the theater. It was so great.
That's how I actually. Gosh, if I can find. Actually, I'm sure it'll play around here. That's the way I got to do it, man.
Yeah, look around, because usually around Christmas you can find some place that's showing in the theater. It's great, and that score. Oh my God, that score is so good.
So good.
Yeah. Gremlins is a good pick.
Yeah, I have a dog named Gizmo, so we're all in agreement here. It's fine.
Yes. Aw.
But Mike, thank you so much for your time, man. We appreciate you so much, dude.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Let everybody know where to get in touch with you, all your stuff, whatever you want them to know. If you want them to leave you alone, tell them that too. Cannot wait. Again, December 12th, 2025, Silent Night, Deadly Night. I can't wait to see what you do, dude. Yeah,
dude, I can't wait for you guys to check it out. And love to hear what you guys think of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, if you're looking for anything of mine, I have an Instagram account. That's about as far as I go when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just at Rockford Road is the handle, and you'll see me in a bunch of either movie stuff or pictures of me and my son playing pinball. So
nice. You earlier you said 3 words that I really love to hear. You said giant snake movie. When are we going to hear more about that?
Come 2026, man.
Nice.
There's nothing set yet, but you're going to start hearing more about it in the new year, and I'm very, very excited about that one. That was a labor of love, an original idea, not an existing IP. Teamed up again with Alan McElroy on that one, and Constantine, Lionsgate. it's a fun ride, dude. Like, um, going through the Amazon, and
Nice.
some bad stuff happens.
Yeah, this sounds like it's right up my alley. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, it's a lot of fun. It's harrowing, but it's fun.
Nice, nice. But we'll reach out again and around that time, and hopefully we can have a nice conversation about that once it's out and everything, and you can really dive into all the stuff.
Let's do it, man. I'm in.
Hell of a deal, dude. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you so much. Have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, thanks guys.